First, Donald Trump vetoes the bipartisan border deal because he doesn't want to give credit to Joe Biden ahead of the election. Now there are reports that he might be using the same tactics over a potential ceasefire in Gaza with Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, obviously, Trump and Netanyahu have denied this, but I don't trust either of them.
Blinken is over there right now working with Netanyahu. The reporting is that former President Trump is on the phone with the Prime Minister of Israel, urging him not to cut a deal right now because it's believed that would help the Harris campaign.
As we know, Netanyahu is also facing corruption charges and, like Trump, is desperate to stay out of jail. But with the November election just 77 days away, and with Vice President Harris polling ever higher, Donald Trump will stop at nothing to save his own skin from jail. And the only thing that could prevent a prison sentence is winning the presidency. Can you think of a dirtier, more sullied reason to seek the world's highest office, to stay out of jail? Trump is already a convicted felon who will use anything he can to circumnavigate the law, protocols, and morality. He'd even sell his own children if he could, or bury his ex-wife on his own golf course for a tax break. You cannot imagine the depths to which he will sink and the dirt he is prepared to roll in for power. So, with the DNC underway this week and an emotional speech from President Joe Biden last night and Barack Obama tonight, anti-war protesters have been making their voices heard outside the convention center in Chicago and inside it, for that matter. The Chicago Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression are protesting genocide in Gaza, and Democrats are listening. Joe Biden referenced the bloodshed in his speech last night. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said that Israel has accepted a proposal to bridge the differences holding up a ceasefire and hostage release in Gaza, and he called on Hamas to do the same. The high-stakes negotiations have gained urgency in recent days as diplomats hope an agreement will deter Iran and Lebanon's Hezbollah from avenging the targeted killings of two top militants that were blamed on Israel. The escalating tensions have raised fears of an even more destructive regional war. Blinken spoke after holding a 2.5-hour meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu earlier yesterday and will travel to Egypt and Qatar tonight for further negotiations. The three mediators have spent months trying to end the war in Gaza, with the talks repeatedly stalling. Netanyahu said that he had a good and important meeting with Blinken and appreciated the understanding that the United States has shown to our vital security interests, along with our shared efforts to release our hostages. Blinken's 9th mission to the Middle East since the conflict began came days after mediators, including the United States, expressed renewed optimism that a deal was near. Antony Blinken called the latest diplomatic push by Washington to achieve a ceasefire deal in Gaza probably the best, maybe the last opportunity, and urged all parties to get the agreement over the finish line. Last night, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez addressed the Democratic National Convention with a primetime speech highlighting Kamala Harris's commitment to securing a ceasefire, quoting her as saying she is working tirelessly to secure a ceasefire and bring home the hostages. This statement received enthusiastic applause from the DNC audience. 10 days ago, Kamala Harris told pro-Palestinian protesters who interrupted her campaign rally in Arizona that now is the time for a ceasefire deal, pausing her speech to directly address the protesters. Harris said, "I have been clear, now is the time to get a ceasefire deal and get the hostage deal done." So, there's no delay from the Democrats. They've been working diligently and tirelessly on a ceasefire deal for months. What is more concerning is that Donald Trump, as an enemy of the state, appears to be running his own shadow government and foreign policy outreach. He's been cozying up to Netanyahu for years, claiming to be a friend of Israel, in the same way he cozies up to Orban, Erdogan, Putin, Xi, and Little Rocket Man. Trump said new far-right President Javier Milei would make Argentina great again. You see, Trump doesn't see eye to eye with America's allies, because allies invariably are modern, liberal, or progressive thinkers running peaceful social democracies. Trump is drawn to the political underdog, to criminals, chancers, fire starters, and fascists, because Trump is isolated. He's not educated, he's not well read, he's not versed in international politics, trade, or relations, so he defaults to the chancers, the ones who need his endorsement and will gladly return the compliment. He needs to look strong. He wants to associate with other strongmen because he has nothing to say and nothing to offer. Puffing out his chest and pumping the air with his fist are the only things he has. He has no substance, no position, no empathy. America is not a failing nation as he describes. He is a failing, fraudulent, illegitimate candidate. So, do we expect that he's asked Netanyahu to hold off on any ceasefire with Hamas until after the election? Yeah, because we know the character of the man. He goes low, then he goes lower. So when word gets around that Trump might have, yet again, put himself ahead of human suffering, I say that's Donald Trump. The same Trump who killed the border deal, the same Trump who lied about COVID, killing 1,219,487 Americans. The same Trump who continues to lie about the 2020 election being stolen from him. That guy. Americans won't be voting for Trump in anything like the numbers that the polls are predicting, because his corruption is so transparent. His hatred of America, his base, the political class, are all too evident. The guy cheats at golf, for crying out loud. He claimed he had won his own club championship and the senior club championship at his course in West Palm Beach. Remember that book, written by sports writer Rick Riley in 2019, Commander-in-Cheat, How Golf Explains Trump. So, expect Donald Trump to derail the ceasefire. Expect him to cheat in the November election. Expect him to continue being racist, abusive, immoral, and pathetic. And all the while, watch Kamala Harris's star rise. Her campaign has raised $500 million in just 4 weeks of her being the candidate. That's more money than any candidate ever. That's the poll I'm watching. That's how Americans have their voices heard. They give what they can. They rally. They support. They know good from evil. And they're not going back to an era where their rights, freedoms, and autonomy are taken away by a fake patriot dressed as a flawed tyrant. I'm Anthony Davis. You can catch me on the 5 Minute News YouTube channel and podcast, on Wednesdays co-hosting Uncovered, and on Sunday on The Weekend Show with Midas Touch.